Listeners, welcome back to another episode of the Lead Well podcast. This is Brandon Holland, your host, BW Holland 32 on most social media platforms. And we're just going to jump right in today. But before we do, quick thank you for our sponsors. Bob Shackelford with the Shackelford Leadership Institute. If you're looking to grow in your leadership, that's a place where you want to be. And also, if you need podcasting equipment, if you need microphones, if you need headphones, if you need anything that is going to help you get your message and your audio out there, HyperX is the one that you need. And so we'd like to thank both of those sponsors for sponsoring this show. And a really cool episode planned for you guys today. A good friend of mine, somebody that I've had the pleasure of working with for the past few weeks and getting to know and watch grow as a leader. The city of Newton has a new intern. His name is Will Choplin, and I will let Will continue to introduce himself. And Will, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so my name is Will Choplin. I'm a rising sophomore at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. I'm a Newton local. I've lived in the area my whole life. I I decided to work with Newton as kind of a horizon expanding kind of thing. I want to pursue a career in law, and so I figured what better way to do it than, be around the law, be around the people that enforce it and the people that handle it. I've had all kinds of experience before with law. I've worked with the North Carolina Senate, North Carolina House, met some people from the governor's office, just all kinds of that government experience. So figured I'd bring it on home and, hang out with the Newton guys and gals, and I've really enjoyed it so far. But outside of that, hobbies, I like to play golf. I'm an aspiring producer and DJ in Chapel Hill, and I'm just kind of trying to try it all and make the most of my college years and do stuff like this and learn as much as I can. So thanks for having me, Brandon. I'm really excited to do this with you.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'm glad to have you on the show. I think this is going to be a beneficial conversation just from what I've been able to learn about you. But I want to kind of get started from the beginning. How did you hear about Newton, or what stood out to you to want to work with the city of Newton for your summer? You could have done it anywhere.
Yeah, so I obviously I'm from the Newton area, but in high school I worked at the corner table soup kitchen a lot, which is, for those of y'all that don't know, it is a community kitchen that is in downtown Newton, and I worked there for a summer, and I really enjoyed it, and wanted to get closer with Newton. Like I said, I wanted to get more experience in government, local and otherwise, and I, I was really excited at the opportunity to work with Brandon and with the city attorney to try to get more experience with kind of municipality work, local law, and how all that is managed and enforced. And obviously build that resume for the law career. I mean, that never hurts. But it's something I had in the works for a few years now. And I'm glad that it's something that's been able to surface this summer. It worked out good with my schedule, and I'm, like I said, excited for it.
That's awesome. Okay, so what projects or what kind of things are you working on right now?
So right now, I mean, obviously working with City of Newton is kind of my big thing. But outside of that, I'm really trying to grow my music skills and my production this summer. I have the unique opportunity of having time on my hands, which I'm using as much as I can. I'm produce house music, a little bit of other electronic music, and just kind of grow that skill set for me. I've always loved music, but never had any real musical talent before now. So I figured I would give it a shot, and it's been going well so far. I've got a decent little following going on. Y'all can follow me at Will_Chop on Instagram. That's where I keep everything updated. You can find my SoundCloud in there. But yeah, just music's really the focus right now. Other than that, I'm taking some Spanish classes over the summer just to try to build that up. You never know, never hurts. And just growing my network. I mean, being back home, it's wonderful, but it's different. And I realized I need to grow that home network before I can grow the out in the world network. So I really enjoyed doing that this summer and being with City and some other work that I've been doing with some friends of mine. It's really been kind of enlightening for me and something that I'm glad to have it take up my time. It's really been enjoyable for me.
That's cool. So you mentioned music and trying to grow in that. How'd that start? Where'd that come from? It's not typical that you see somebody who's focused on law who wants to also pursue in music. So
Yeah,
how'd that
so
happen?
it's funny you mentioned that. I was actually thinking about that earlier. I was on a run and I was trying to listen to the music that got me into music, and I kind of ran that cycle through my head, and cause I never really had thought about it before, but it's in my eighth grade year, COVID hit, and we were all in our bedrooms doing literally nothing, school, if you can call it that. But I was just literally at my desk, and I was on YouTube, and I found um, it was the Martin Garrix. He's a DJ from the Netherlands, and he was playing at a show in Amsterdam, and he had put it on YouTube. And y'all could look it up. It's called Martin Garrix, the Ether at RAI. It's this really cool place in Amsterdam, and I watched the whole thing in my office, and I was like, "This is the coolest thing I've ever seen." I don't know what this is. I don't know how he does it. I don't know what he's even doing, but he's one person standing in front of 100,000 people throwing his own party, and I thought that's just the coolest thing ever. And kind of got into the music more and realized what it actually was, what the electronic scene was, and kind of just fell in love with it from there. I basically taught myself to DJ in like the eighth and ish ninth grade, but it kind of fell out because I didn't have the time or the money to actually invest in it. And then senior year, I got a real job and invested in myself, got some equipment, got a little bit of experience, and played my first gig actually at my prom. I played my prom after party, and that was like it was about 15 to 30 people, but it felt like Coachella. It was the craziest thing ever to me, but I really enjoyed that. And from there I went to Chapel Hill, played my first show in Chapel Hill was Halloween. I played to about 1,500 people. That was absurd. Probably one of my favorite memories ever. And so it really just took off with that. I've been networking with other DJs and some promoters in Chapel Hill, and I spent pretty much the whole year DJing, and now I'm going to try to take it to that next level with producing and kind of finding my own sound, doing remixes, and just finding ways to make things my own. Because all I've done for the past like 6 years is play other people's music. So I figured I'd give a shot at my own. But it's definitely my passion. I mean, I love the law and I love reading and writing more than I should, but it's very limited and it's very strict on what you can do. But music is the complete opposite. There are no rules to music. I mean, there's music theory, which I haven't taken the time to bother to learn, but it's there really are no rules to it. And so I think the contrast of music to law is probably what draws me to it. It's because they're so inherently different. And I've always been a writer. I love to write. I write stories, poetry, write nonfiction mainly. And so for me to be able to go from words to beats has been a really formative change for me that I've really enjoyed. It's the hardest thing I've ever done by far. I mean, I would say I had a terribly hard life, but I've done some hard things before, and it doesn't come close to this. It's a whole. It's like speaking another language. It's I speak Spanish. It's harder in Spanish, but you know, it's something that I'm getting along with, and I'm really excited to do. But that's pretty much where my time's at right now.
Man, that's incredible. So what's your favorite part
Favorite part of what?
of DJing?
Of music?
Yeah.
Probably how there really is. There's no demographic to market to in music. Like obviously, some people like some music versus others, but there is no restriction on who can listen to what. It's not like if I was to play my music in English, that no one else in the world can understand it. I think that was the crazy moment for me, is especially with more electronic music where it's more rhythm based. Is I was watching the biggest festival in South America, and the guy who was headlining it was from Australia, and I was like, "What? That doesn't really make sense." But then I realized it doesn't matter, and he had 200,000 people causing a small earthquake in the mountains of South America, and I just it kind of blew my mind. It's like there's really no excuse for anyone to not understand a certain genre of music because it's for everyone, and I think
Yeah.
that's really strong.
Okay. Man, that's great.
Yeah.
So, we can't let this opportunity, pass without taking advantage of it. What's been something that you've enjoyed about working with the City of Newton so far?
Yeah, so mainly I like how I get to see everything. In other jobs I've had, it's been very pinpointed, and while it's been things that I'm good at, it's I don't always get to see everything, get to see the forest of the trees. But working with the city, I get to see all the different departments, all the different management, everyone's how everyone interacts, communication, logistics. It's been really helpful because I mean I consider myself a problem solver, but I consider myself a different level of problem solver after working with the city for three weeks or so. But that's probably been my most how should I say developing and informative and experience for this internship. I don't think anyone understands how. I mean, obviously, a lot of people don't understand how government works nowadays, anyways. But I don't think anyone understands the level of organization and planning that goes into getting your trash picked up, getting your water turned on, making sure your streets aren't a lethal hazard. Like that kind of. I mean, I always knew that because I've worked in government before, but to actually be inside it and making things and changing things is probably been the biggest eye opener for me.
Yeah, it's definitely different from the inside for sure. That was one of the reasons I kind of fell in love with local government was, once I was behind the scenes and got to see how everything worked. Um, so, what's something valuable that you've learned while you've been with the city so far?
You got this. I learned this before the city, but it's become more applicable with the city. Is that anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Murphy's law. I mean, I've that's not just from the city, but I've gotten into a habit over these last few years of always planning for the worst. I mean, and I know Brandon, you talked to me about planning for an event, planning its funeral, and saying about all the things that could go wrong with something. And that's honestly similar to the way I make music. I make it backwards. So I really kind of fallen in love with that kind of problem solving and planning of anything, whether it be music or an event or a birthday party or whatever it is I'm planning. I like to plan it backwards from 2, 3 days afterwards and say, what about this didn't work? What about it flopped? And what can we do to A, prevent that, and B, to maximize the strengths that we do have for this event or whatever it is. That's probably been that for me.
Okay. So, well, I was listening to a different podcast earlier, and it's one of my favorites, and you may have heard of it. It's called The Pivot, and
Mhm.
what it is, former athletes, and they talk about different people who have made pivots in their life, and it got me to thinking about you. Um, at every point, or in every leader's life, there's a point where something changed or there was a pivot. Has there been that moment for you yet? Have you been maybe on a certain path and decided to change paths, or maybe you had a certain belief and that was changed by an experience you had or anything like that?
Oh God, where do I start? I've had so many changes. I mean, careers, relationships, sports, my own health. I could go on and on. I mean, my
What was the big one?
I'll try to limit it, but probably one of the most salient ones is going into probably this my 10th grade. I was dead set on applying to the Naval Academy,
Okay.
and I wanted to enter the Navy, go into special operations. Um, I'll leave it at that. But it just didn't work out. I had the grades, I had the recommendations, but the logistics weren't there, and some support wasn't there, and it ended up being for the better. But that was probably a big pivot I've had is I had planned for that, and it just couldn't make it work. That was hard, but it ended up being for the better, um, given all things considered. Another pivot was ending my competitive golf career. I played competitive golf since I was probably 4, and that's what I had. That's just what I did. I was a golfer, and I kind of got I got some traction midway through high school. Got some offers from some schools, and I pretty much had to decide whether I wanted to play golf or whether I wanted to go to school, because the opportunities that I wanted from my education were not going to be the same opportunities that I was going to get from golf. And by that point, I had bulged a disc in my back. I had blown out my shoulder. Fought through all that. I was all state my senior year, and that was kind of the gem of my crown. I was like, all right, I think this is it, and that was hard. I mean, because I remember I finished the state championship um, in late or mid May my senior year, and then I didn't pick the clubs back up till probably August, going into college, and it was weird, but it was nice, and that pivot was probably one of the biggest ones recently, and it was weird. It was really weird because I'm sure y'all have had experiences where your life is something and then it becomes something else. I mean, sometimes they're your control, sometimes not,
Yep.
and that was a big pivot for me.
Okay. Yeah. Most people have a story like that. Um, these things don't always go the way that we want them to, but they go the way that we need them to most of the
Correct.
time. So what's something, let's one thing that we also try to do here is help leaders get better.
Sure.
And I definitely think you're growing and learning in the area, and you have some wisdom for some folks. What's your advice for the next person who uh, not necessarily wants to waste their summer, but why shouldn't they waste their summer? Why should they do an internship? Why is it important?
Yeah, I mean, they're one of my biggest personal kind of, I guess you could say, values or standards is don't waste any time. I know I've had some experiences with people in my life that have made me realize that life does not go on forever as much as we'd like it to, and there's no reason for anyone to think that they are incapable of doing something because of willpower. That just I refuse to believe that. And whether it be a summer internship or a job or a class or a hobby or a relationship or whatever it may be, you got to give it a shot. I think one of the things that I learned coming to Carolina is you got to try everything. I came from a really small high school, small area. Came from outside Newton, like the rural part of Newton, and I was kind of stuck in my ways. I liked what I liked, and all of a sudden I get to Carolina, and there's like 100,000 people around me, and they're all doing a million different things, and I was like, oh wow, I can't do my thing anymore.
Yeah.
And so that's probably my biggest advice is just try it. And the other piece is just the worst anybody can say is no. I mean, very rarely you're gonna ask something and they're gonna like insult you personally. And if they do, then they're just a jerk, and you know you're not in the right place anyway. But just try things, talk to people, make connections, talk to more people than you think you need to talk to. Because a lot of times, if I've been at conferences or meetings or job interviews or whatever, and I feel like I've talked to enough people, and then I either someone comes up to me or I run into someone and I talk to them, and it ends up being the best conversation I had all day. You never know. um, who you're going to run into, who you're going to talk to. I've gotten jobs that way. I've gotten DJ gigs that way. Gotten friends that way. Um, you never know what you're going to run into. And as far as being a leader is concerned, you it's just magnified. Um, there's no limit to what you can improve to. I know a lot of people say there's no limit to what you accomplish. And that's true, but there are some limitations to that. But there truly is no limit on to what you can try to do, and you'll be shocked how wide that spreads your horizon as far as your success. And I saw something the other day that I liked a lot about growing leaders, and it said, in order to truly grow, you got to find something you excel at and something you're terrible at, and find a way to connect the two. Because very rarely do you approach a situation that you're terrible at and you go, "Wow, I'm just going to become better at that." That's not how we work. I don't think so. The way I like to do it is try to connect your strength to a weakness, because everyone has weaknesses, everybody has strengths. That's nothing new. But the best way to grow that weakness and to strengthen yourself is to connect it through what you're already good at. Because naturally, we as people just rely on our strengths and we kind of balance off our strengths.
Hmm.
So the way I do it is just try to make those connections within your own life, within your own network, whatever it is that you have. Make that connection, make that effort, and just try everything. Don't ever stop.
Yeah. So, in along those same lines of strengths and growing in those strengths, what's something that you've done or something that you do to help you grow in your leadership?
So, number one, ask questions. I mean, you will never be the smartest person in the room, and if you are, you're in the wrong room. Just always ask questions. I guarantee you, especially as someone who's younger, there's people who've seen more, done more, said more, and most of the time they're going to be happy to answer your questions and give you advice. I know a lot of people that I ran into that have been in higher positions than me. They actually get offended if I don't ask questions because then they think that I know everything, which is certainly not the case. So even if it is a somewhat dumb question, it's better to know than to think. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing. And for me personally, I know a lot of people hate to read, a lot of people hate to write, but write things down. Like think out loud, think with your hands, think with your mouth. One of the things that I've learned being a producer, and which is a very solitary thing, is you can never be too out of your own head. You can always expand on a piece of paper, on a computer. Out, you can paint it. I mean, you can do anything to kind of put your thoughts into something tangible. Because I mean, I know a lot of people can do things mentally. They can do mental math. I can't do mental math, but you got to find a way to make what you do tangible and understandable, which I've learned. I mean, I make music on a computer. There's nothing tangible about it, but if you can find a way to make that idea, that vision, that anything real, it really becomes easier for not only you to understand, but for the people underneath you. If you're leading, or the people above you, if you're trying to lead them, just take everything that you can and consolidate it as much as you can. Um, that's the, I think that's probably roughly a surefire way to become a better leader. But it, the people that do this, they find their own way to do it, and then that's when the real growth happens. Is whenever you take something that someone else has that's good and you make it your own. Because um, everybody knows you can only do your own thing. You can't do somebody else's thing effectively, but if you can do someone else's thing your way, you're going to be set.
That's awesome. Yeah. So we're getting toward the end of our time. Will, is there anything else you wanted to share before we go?
Yeah, for everybody that's listening out there, I want you to know that nothing that you think about is dumb. Nothing that you think is impossible. There is nothing that can come around that is insurmountable. Um, I don't want anyone to think that because I'm on this podcast or because Brandon's leading this podcast that we're inherently better or different than anyone else. We're just doing something different than you are. So take what you learned here. Take what I say. Take what somebody else says. Take what your mom says, and put that to work. Because no, the only person who can give up on you is you. So don't let that happen.
That's awesome advice. Um, Before we go, man, how can our listeners find you and your music? That's
Yeah.
something that's really exciting and different for this audience.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm in Chapel Hill. So if we have any RDU any listeners come out, it'd be easy to find me. I play at bars and other places, but on Instagram it's Will_Choplin. That's probably the best way. And then on SoundCloud you can see my original songs, my remixes, my I post a lot of my practice sets, so you can kind of see what I'm playing right now, what I'm doing. It's DJ Chop on SoundCloud. Should be pretty easy to find me. And I actually have something coming out soon. I'm working with a guy by the name of JMO. He's from Denver, and we've been collaborating on a remix, and I'm really excited to put that out. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, look me up on Instagram.
Awesome. Yeah. So, listeners, hey, if you're interested, man, go find Will. Um, and, if you need a DJ in the RDU area, make sure you hit him up. And also, I'm in the kitchen cooking too. Leadership is influence. And in order for me to be able to influence Will, I'm allowing him to influence me and teach me some stuff as well. At some point soon, I'll have a little bit of music out there too.
Exactly.
So,
I'm excited for that too. This is gonna be fun.
yeah. All right, man. Well, dude, I appreciate the time. Listeners, thank you so much for your time. Big thanks to the sponsors, HyperX and Shackleford Leadership Institute. Um, we will have another episode for you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks for tuning in.